Obviously, we're about to go ahead and arrive at Act 1 of Heresy, but before we get there, Nico, I'd love to ask you really quickly, what got us to where we are today? Obviously, we're concluding episode Revenant, but a lot has occurred. Can you catch anyone
See, it
up
all
at home
started when
about
I
what
was
happened
4
last
years
time?
old.
Yeah, so the story
played
of the
my first
Echoes,
video
which
game.
the episodes encompass, has kind of, spoiler, sorry.
We have up on screen here in just a moment, I think, the key art.
Are they walking around
Yeah,
tentacles?
so I think the first thing that's probably going to draw a lot of people's eye is that ghostly visage of Oryx peeking over the top there.
That was not the
So
first
Oryx
thing,
is, I'll just say Oryx is back to some capacity, right?
Yeah.
And Sloane is our Titan representation here. People will remember her from Season of the Deep or even the Red War. And she has been
War of the Deep.
afflicted with this like taken corruption that we saw back in Season of the Deep. And she's learned how to sort of hold it back, but also utilize it to make her stronger.
Yeah.
So she is going to be teaching us some of that. I'm going to choose my words very carefully here.
Redacted.
Redacted, yes.
This redacted event sort of kicks off Sloane's motivation for teaching us about the taken power that she has been holding back. And so that is the path of resolve here. She's going to be teaching us how to fight fire with fire.
Since the Echo has hit the Dreadnought, a lot of the spaces have changed and like modified. A lot of the skin of the Dreadnought ship has like peeled back, revealing bone and chitin and showing off new secrets, new pathways. So you are in familiar spaces if you've played the Dreadnought before, but there is a lot of new, interesting, unique pathways. Things have changed. Things have become abnormally different.
Oh, yeah.
There goes our fire team.
So, we're talking about the boon system. You obviously had a big hand in this as well.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of boons available.
So here we go, we're looking at one right now.
Yeah, so these corrupted boons are offered at the same time as major boons, as players can only obtain 5 to 6 major boons / corrupted boons per run through. Those are granted to players once randomly at one of the 3 encounters inside of the bubble, and then again at the end of the bubble once they complete it. And there's some ritual loop stuff too that will allow them to get another one at the start of a bubble or the start of a run through.
Yeah.
And it's also good to know in the health regeneration aspect. The gameplay and sandbox team has tuned a lot of the abilities and weapons that do heal players, so they're not extremely overpowered. So there's been a wide tuning pass on all of this entirely. So you're gonna see when you're trying to heal up your teammate with one of our new support auto rifles.
Yeah.
It's gonna take some time, but it does work and it is very efficient and very helpful, especially the abilities. So you're definitely going to want to spec into healing builds.
Oh, man. This is a new area because I think
Season
normally
of
this
Deep,
would just
we
be
were
like
going
a
deep
giant
into,
pit.
Hey, the oceans of Titan, and now it feels like we're going deep into space, and like the pressure, you can feel it, tentacles taking energy. Like they knocked it out of the park with the vibe here. I'm feeling a little claustrophobic, but also
because there was like a
you feel it. Pulled deeper into the labyrinth.
there's a little like ghost fragment or like whatever the hell way out there on like the invisible platforms. But if you fell, it was just death. This is new.
But this episode as well is going to bring with it a bevy of new gear between both armor and weapons. Now,
So the main thing that I feel like we really got to see gameplay-wise was the Dreadnought. And it seems like what they're trying to do is iterate a bit more on the Season of the Haunted experience, where we got to go into the Leviathan and got to explore like a small subsector of the Leviathan, and they had some like very light activities to do in the Leviathan. It seems like they're trying to push that a little bit farther with episode 3. Okay, so let me grab me right here. We have these, events that are going to be going on in the Dreadnought and the Nether. They are trying to make this what appears to be a bit more of like a scary, scarier is not the right word, but it is like a scarier patrol experience where if you go in with a fire team, there's going to be revives. You're not going to regenerate your health, but you will start with a greater health pool along with some extra shields as well. Healing will be possible. It'll just be not as effective. I believe they also said that a lot of healing things that we know that we kind of take for granted right now their potency will be reduced here. So a lot of the healing and recuperation of ammo and all that kind of stuff that's going to happen in the Dreadnought is going to come from like actually doing things or like breaking little jars and pots along the way to like regenerate your health and get some ammo back and all this kind of stuff. They also talked about some roguelike elements. So whenever you complete an activity, you can choose some sort of a gameplay-based reward. Some of these are, like a kind of, they're what they say. There's minor and there's major versions of it. of these different kind of boons that you can get, along with like corrupted ones, which are, provide like a big benefit, but they also have a drawback. So they're trying to incorporate some light roguelite stuff into the Dreadnought as well. But otherwise, like I don't feel like we got a ton of direction in terms of like, obviously they're going to keep a lot of the story stuff kind of on the low, right? They're not going to really talk about, why we're in here or what's going on or this or that. They did talk about like Eris is going to be around, Drifter's going to be around. You could literally hear the Drifter yapping in the background when they were just kind of sitting around, although they didn't have any subtitles. So I don't know exactly what he was saying. So in terms of like actually coming in here, how is all of this going to be incorporated into any of the story elements going on? I'm not too sure. This does look like some one-to-one reconstruction of certain Dreadnought sections, but we also have a new section that they go down into, I think it's around here. Don't they drop down? They drop down somewhere into, where is it? Yeah, into here. So normally this was like a giant pit in D1, like way out there was just like a bunch of hidden platforms they would jump on to grab like a ghost fragment. And then this was just a bottomless pit. So this is like some new area. I'm not sure how vast the Dreadnought's going to be outside of like the 3 areas that they showed us, which were sort of like not the landing zone, but like the first time you entered the Dreadnought, that was like a section. And then sort of like the middle of the Dreadnought was a section. And then we have this kind of new area of the Dreadnought that used to be just nothing. So I'm not sure if there's anything else beyond it. No trailer, kind of disappointed. I think the trailer's probably going to drop next week because they usually drop trailers like, a day or two before, sometimes even same day. So we have some more of these, activities that we're kind of used to seeing. Kill the stuff, kill the things. Is that a world drop stasis machine gun potentially? Let's rewind here. Here's some more of the boons. Increases elemental damage dealt, but drains your grenade and class abilities. So it's all in on kind of like gun damage. There's a few examples shown in the gameplay. Okay. Finish your final blows, converts your next thrown grenade into a bonus fragmentation grenade. Yeah, okay, so we saw that one. So there's a few different buffs that you can find here, a few different boons that you can find here. They also showed off a lot of the bolt charge stuff, which we have talked about in a previous video. Bolt charge being a new arc subclass key phrase where you're able to build up a bunch of charge over time, and then when you use an ability or do some ability damage, it all gets thrown out as a big lightning bolt, along with 2 arc aspects, one for the Warlock and one for Titan, and then Hunter is getting a Void aspect. I think my thing with this is like, I remember what Season of the Haunted was like, and it was a lot of just like face mashing, a lot of the Leviathan activities. And while this does look like a more, I would say, interesting progression point for some kind of experience like this, I did think that they were going to bring the Dreadnought back as a patrol space, and I'm glad that they did. It is an evolution of it, but in terms of like how much that's really going to get people juiced up, that I need to see in person. That I need to see with some gameplay, because again, I remember Season of the Haunted, going around the Leviathan was entertaining for only so long. But I like that they've added some like different difficulty options. Solo players, they've also mentioned there's going to be some like tuning so that solo players aren't, maybe as miserable compared to like a 3-person fire team. So there's some stat balancing and damage balancing that's going to happen for the solo players out there who just want to go around and explore and do stuff. They also mentioned some weapons here and there, like the fact that we are going to get some adept versions of some weapons that are dropping here, but like sort of shiny-esque. I forget what they exactly said about the cosmetic portion of it, but there's going to be weapons that drop adept with double perks. So that's kind of like going to be your shiny hunt. I think they very deliberately did not talk about crafting at all. They didn't mention the feedback of like bring back the crafted weapons. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. Although Vault of Glass is getting another refresh, and Vault of Glass weapons will now be craftable. So people, kind of like what we did with Garden recently, you're going to hop back into VOG, and you'll be able to get your crafted VOG weapons there. They mentioned player feedback about tonics, and how it seems like they're moving more towards an attunement system. I don't think they explicitly said attunement, but it did feel like they were kind of going in that direction where they said like, oh, I want to focus on getting the new support frame strand auto rifle. So I'm going to put my energy into trying to get this. So it does sound attunement-like, which I think is a good change compared to all this tonic stuff. They showed off a new art area denial frame with a new perk that grants bolt charge, the new strand support frame auto rifle. We're getting some new perks in there as well. Let's see. I'd say basically the second half just kind of, here's an example of like a shiny version of one of these weapons. And it also looks like this is, I honestly don't remember if this Salvation's Edge thing is actually fixed right now, but I think this is it. So yeah, here's one of the examples of like the shiny versions that you can get. Again, it's not technically shiny because I don't think there's a cosmetic part, but it'll be adept. It'll give you double perks, kind of like what we had in episode 2. Hopefully maybe dropping slightly more frequently. Although maybe the fact that I haven't really been running the seasonal content, or other people haven't been running the seasonal content, is why they feel so rare. I think I've only gotten 2, maybe 3 of them the entire time. But I have felt like they haven't really been dropping that much. So hopefully the drop rates are slightly more increased. They also showed off the look of the weapons. I think they look pretty neat. But the second half of the dev live stream was just showing off weapons. They also showed off, oh, here's the area denial. Yeah, there you go. Final blows grant bolt charge when amplified. Final blows grant additional bolt charge. And we have eddy current on here as well. They also showed off 2 exotics. So they went over a lot of the aspect stuff, the game, some gameplay related things. We actually got to see this in some of the gameplay. I don't think we really saw much Titan with Storm's Keep, if I recall. I don't remember seeing it a whole lot. It was mainly a lot of Warlock based gameplay. Let me see if we can find an example real quick of them using the Ionic Sentry. Okay, so it's a different symbol down here. Boom, there it is. And it's just going around zapping things. I mean, it looks pretty good, like, as in effective. They showed like 3 or 4 things from the seasonal artifact. Apparently, it's going to be very void focused, with 2 perks in particular, them highlighting, they hover over it. Void Flux, defeating weakened targets with a void weapon, applies volatile to nearby targets. Combined with this perk up here, Maligned Harvest, applying volatile, causes your next instance of void damage to create a weakening burst. So void weapon enjoyers are gonna go crazy here. We also have a very weird set of weapons for stunning champions this episode. We have fusions, unstoppable, machine guns or overload, sidearms and snipers are anti-barrier, and then glaives, because they just got a big rework and I guess kind of buff as well, are getting unstoppable. And they also showed off particle reconstruction, dealing sustained damage, fusions and linear fusions, refills from magazine from reserves, grant them bonus damage for a short duration against that target. Last time we saw this, I want to say season 15? Season of Lost or Splicer? Season 15, yeah. 14 or 15. So it's back to a degree. I know it's not exactly the same, but kind of close. Breach and Clear was, yeah, that was the grenade launcher. So it does seem like we're getting some, I mean, even just like these 3 major ones alone that they've showed us, pretty nice. And then they showed a couple of exotics. They showed off the fact that VOG weapons are getting a reprise. Then we have this weird looking submachine gun, where you deal, it builds up blight as you deal damage, and then you can convert that blight into blighted seekers with this buff down here called Panic Response. And if you do, like, if you pull a little one for all, like you hit 3 different targets while shooting this thing, you get a bunch of extra energy. This guy was just like, all right, let me see here. Well, I'm trying to see an instance where Panic Response is active. Okay, there it is. Unfortunately, they don't use it at all. I don't think this weapon was showcased super well because they were trying to shoot stuff from like really far away. Yeah, I don't recall it being showcased super well, but it does look really cool. I'm interested in trying it. And then we have with the season pass, Lodestar. This is a primary ammo using trace rifle. So I think they said hip fire, it just kind of works like a normal trace rifle, but then aim down sights, Dealing art damage from any source aligns this battery's coils when alignment is complete, or R press special reload to disengage the safety and enable hip fired a starlight beam to apply jolt to any targets damaged for a short time. Aim down sights to slow the rate at which the battery drains. So yeah, you're gonna be able to just giga beam some jolt onto things. And if you're aiming down sights, I believe they said it kind of acts like a pulse rifle, is what they said. So also interested in trying this out, especially like Arc Warlocks, I think are going to be having like a pretty fun time. There was a lot of Delicate Tomb on display. There's a lot of Ionic Sentry on display. So I'm very interested in trying Arc Warlock. Maybe with Cold Heart. Maybe I bust out the old Cold Heart build. Maybe I try it out Lodestar. We'll see. And then I think that was about it, as they kind of just talked about some reprised weapons coming back, like Whispering Slab and Cold Denial. Also getting a little showcase of the Trials armor here for the Warlock, but that was also previewed last week. But yeah, in terms of gameplay, the main thing we also have this, what appears to be a pretty good looking Arc machine gun, of which the current best one is from Crota's End. So this might be a more accessible option to those maybe without a Song of Ear Ute, because it didn't look like a 900 RPM. I think it was like a 450 or a 600. The new perk on the Fatebringer, dealing unique elemental damage, grants this weapon a stacking damage bonus. This bonus is increased for kinetic weapons. That was a new perk on Fatebringer. The main thing that I really wanted to see was just like, what was going to be the seasonal activity? What was going to be the core thing that we interact with for the season? And it looks like this. And again, just going off of my memory of Season of the Haunted, do I remember being in Leviathan that much, especially considering some of the activities that were available within? I remember there being there a lot, but I think it was mainly for like Triumph grinding. I need to see how robust and how in-depth this is actually going to get. Because like some of the roguelike stuff is cool, but again, we're like so insanely strong that like it's tough. It has been tough for me to really care that much about some of these roguelike things that they have put into the game, because it just a lot of times didn't end up feeling like it mattered that much. This looks miles better than Nightmare Containment IMO. Well, it's because I think it's basically Nightmare Containment 2.0, right? They tried out making an old area a patrol space, and this is just them learning those lessons and taking the next step up. The question is that next step up gonna be fun? Is it gonna feel good to play? How are the rewards, right? That's really the question that I want to see answered. But just knowing where we've been for like the past few years, I'm not like going into this thinking that this is going to revolutionize, seasonal or episodic content. I have a decent idea of how I think it's going to be in my head, and I'm guessing it's going to be somewhat familiar feeling. I am interested to see how things like no health regen are going to play out. I'm interested to see how the ammo situation is going to be working out, because they said something along the lines of not necessarily famine being on, but like something like that, where your ammo drops are not going to be as frequent. It's not going to be just some hop into a patrol space and kind of dink around for a little bit type of experience. It does seem like it's going to have a bit more structure. It's going to have a bit more going on, but how much more going on and how much, that's going to be enticing to players, that's really the main question that I kind of have before we go into this. No health regen is not going to be a thing. It is all nonsense. What do you mean? It's literally happening in the gameplay. Note the lack of regeneration. Note the nothing happening. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so they did also say that health regeneration effects are going to be specifically in the Dreadnought, not as potent. And that's so you don't have so Bungie doesn't have a situation where you can just completely ignore this, no health regen mechanic. Sorry, hang on, let me drink some freaking water. Is orb pickup health leg mod armor still viable for this activity? You talk about recuperation. I imagine it still will be. It'll still work. It's just its potency will not be as high. That's the whole point. Is like they don't want health regeneration effects to be as ridiculously strong in the Dreadnought compared to other parts of the game. because they want this to be a different kind of experience. Heal clip will work. Devour's going to work. All the things will work. It's just not going to work as well. Because if you could just full heal on everything, there would be no point to doing this thing at all. So it's going to work. It'll work. Just not very well. That's it. They want there to be some sort of a thing that you have to think about in your gameplay, is what I'm getting from this. I think that was really the main thing I wanted to discuss, was just like, it looks cool. It's a place we haven't been to in a while. It's new content, but I'm also thinking, where have we been this whole time with the seasonal activities? It looks, again, just like a lot of going around killing stuff, and we all know where we're at with that. I've heard the feedback a zillion different times. Things are feeling samey. Things are feeling the same. There's not really any big changes coming. Now, was I expecting episode 3 to have these huge sweeping changes? Not necessarily. I'm kind of waiting on Frontiers for that. I was more or less expecting episode 3 to be very similar to episode 1 or episode 2 in terms of the content that we are getting. But yeah, I want to obviously get in the Dreadnought and see what the gameplay experience is going to be like. But if I hear the same feedback of like, it still just kind of feels very samey, or it's not really that fun to explore, or like there's not any sort of like neat things in there to go get, then I could, like, that feedback wouldn't surprise me at all. Oh yeah, and then they announced the freaking Star Wars reverse. Where the hell is it? There it is. Hunter, Titan, Warlock, in case you couldn't tell. How the hell they swing a Star Wars collab? I don't know, brother. I don't know. So yeah. How do you think they're going to make us strip away our current God Roll armor for these new sets that are coming? They're not. They're not going to. Now, if you're talking about Frontiers, that's a completely different story, because they're revamping like a lot of the stats that are going to be in the game, and as a result, they will be dropping different kind of armor. At this point, yeah, armor's for fashion. That's it. Yeah, if you're talking Frontiers, I think we're getting like a soft sunsetting with armor, where Bungie says like, yeah, you can keep all your old stuff if you really want, but this new stuff's going to be way better. So eventually you're going to want to upgrade. So we'll talk about that, when we get a little more information. But in terms of episode 3 armor, no, it's you get it to get some cosmetics and then make a new fashion set. Most people are not. I imagine a lot of people already have their armor sets completely locked at this point, except if you're a new player. Did I know anything about episode 3 before today? This is all fresh for me. This is all fresh. All of it is fresh. I knew nothing about this. First time I'm seeing any of this stuff. I would have said by the end of it that I've seen it. I would have said, because we've been memeing it for like 3 days now. Show us the ending. Oh my God. Ugh. I feel like I already know what the feedback's going to be from a lot of people. Not even the Dreadnought can escape the WoW reused content allegations. Like if there's like one thing that I feel like everybody can universally agree on, is that most people love the Taken King. And not even the Taken King, not even the Dreadnought is safe from the, wow, can't believe we're going back here, even though literally everybody loves the Taken King. But we're all upset about No Wrath of the Machine coming back. So how are we feeling? Let me open it up here. Let's open it up here. They did also say, I don't think I even mentioned this at the beginning. They did mention, sorry, one more thing here. Up here, this is like the kind of the key splash art for Heresy. You got Oryx up here. There's a lot of teasing that Oryx is going to come back, and something with the freaking echoes and the so, they were teasing that quite a lot. Looks better than the last episode. Could be cool with the Hive theme. The how 3 works in the Dreadnought are a neat way to get players to try different builds instead of just using insta-heal builds. Yeah, again, it's all about trying to make your gameplay experience like a little different, which doesn't always mean easier, but I can understand if there's some apprehension about like the gameplay portion, because going back to the Dreadnought will be cool for a little while. How's the gameplay going to hold up? How is the main activities that we are going to be playing this entire episode, how are those going to hold up? So I can understand if you absolutely have some apprehension about something like that, because I would be apprehensive too after the past 2 episodes that we've gotten, and after the past, more seasons than not that we've gotten. Xivu not mentioned was a bit disappointing. I don't think there's anything that says that Xivu wouldn't show up. That could just be something they're keeping close to the chest. But it also could be, Xivu's not even in it. How long until Bungie undoes some of the no healing aspect in the Dreadnought because people complain? I don't know if they do. I don't think they do. I think they keep it. Wasn't half of the appeal for the Dreadnought being the sheer amount of stuff there was to do in the world versus just location being cool? I think it was a little bit of both. Although I don't know how many people were really pogging their minds out for Court of Oryx. Any thoughts on the shinies? I mean, they're doing literally everything that they can to bring back shinies except the cosmetic part, which is like what people are really hoping to try to get. So like I like the Adept, I like the double perks. Just do the one more thing. Oh yeah, the fragile mods. Yes, I did not talk about that. So there's fragile mods. So these mods are only going to be around for this episode specifically, that are going to have more enhanced effects that you would normally have on, what did they say? Did they say weapon mods specifically? Or did they say armor as well? I think it was mainly weapon focused. But yeah, certain weapons are going to have some mods that are only going to be around for this episode. I think they're like tonic boosts. Oh, because the boosts are back. Maybe they are some sort of a tonic boost type thing. Okay. No new strikes like Shield Brothers. Not mentioned. At this point, I would be surprised. It would have been cool. And I feel like that's something that I feel like they would have mentioned. Didn't they say they were different cosmetically? I think I got to go back to the part where they talk about it, because I kind of missed it.
Yeah. Which kind of turns them into this like short
and making
Let your hunter friend with
a lot of the gated heal.
activity particular you want to call out?
There are. I do actually want to talk about this one with one more thing.
Oh, please.
This weapon can roll Slice and Tear, which are two perks that sever enemies.
Yeah.
It's not often we get a primary legendary weapon that can
That was my
wave.
difference?
Yeah, and that's going to play into things like the
Is it
the
maybe this
artifact
glow right here?
season, which we'll talk about a little later.
This
But
could just
we'll
be on
get
the
there.
weapon itself.
So there's
I don't remember this
Adamantite,
glow being
which
here for the
is
GL.
a really solid weapon. And then let's look at Psychopomp. So Psychopomp is our new
the
area
gold.
denial grenade launcher.
Such a good-
which is debuff
Does anyone know exactly where they mention it? So I have to listen for like 5 minutes. The gold.
multiple flamethrower.
just psychopomp. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Psycho. Not often we get
All right. Then fair enough. Yeah. Gold here compared to
so Psychopomp is our
really in between
new
the
area
10 seconds in
denial grenade
between.
launcher.
Such a good.
Yeah, no gold. Okay. Then at least there's some sort of distinct difference, even besides, the double perks and the, adept and all that kind of stuff. It has a memento. Isn't that the raid memento? What's it actually called? What's the raid memento actually called? Actually, I could just probably search memento. Never mind. Come on, Destiny datasets. Memento. Yeah, monolithic memento. A rare curio obtained from Salvation's Edge.
And multiple.
This. So it's not that, but it's just apparently the base shader on it. Talks about them just after the GL. So I just want to get like exact wording from them.
So Psychopomp. So these area denial grenade launchers. The fantasy of these things is like a flamethrower, right? We don't have flamethrowers in the game, but this is as close as you can get to a flamethrower. So I imagine I'm using one every time I use this thing.
I'm going to now.
I mean, it had a new
This is
perk.
a cool new perk on it that
Yeah.
keys into
Final
our
verse,
new
close
arc
grand
keyword crafted this season, and arc
Just into my loadout. I can't wait. Honestly, the second I learn
Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's like
the bone,
there's the
weapon,
core. Yeah.
yeah, holding area denial grenade launchers into my loadout. I can't wait. Honestly, the second I learned this was
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There- Pull out my handy dandy notebook.
There we go.
Oh,
Sorry.
here's the meme.
screen. Yeah.
But yeah, you can notice that for
Can never
for
recreate
this
the
go
original.
of our episodic weapons, you can earn adept weapons, and these are we're considering or calling them our heretical arsenal. Heresy, heretical.
Yeah.
Like we're going deep into this.
Not
theme.
theoretical. It's her. I love it. Yeah.
You can see that it has a new treat or a different treatment to the colors. It's kind of like the hollow foils from Into the Light.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Not so much exact. We're going deep into this. theme.
Theoretical. It's her. I love it. Yeah.
You can see that it has a new treat or a different treatment to the colors. It's kind of like the hollow foils from Into the Light.
Yeah.
Not so much exactly that of, hey, it's an ornament, but like this has the base die and all that, and it looks
Okay. I couldn't remember exactly what he was saying.
really good. Shout out to the team. But you can also notice there are multiple perks in each column.
And then yeah, multiple perks and adapt, blah blah blah. Okay. Okay. So that is good. I like that. Yay. Good. Good cosmetic change. Good to sort of bring back. It's not, it's not maybe as elaborate as, the animated freaking, things that we got for Into the Light, but it's something to differentiate, which is all people really wanted. Let me see here. Okay. Still like the Into the Light more one. Yeah, I mean, the Into the Light ones were really nice. So hopefully they can continue to get more elaborate with those. Tekken Force has the new seasonal symbol on it as well.
There's actually an extra origin trait as well. Shout out to be, but that's rough. But yeah. So let me pull out my handy dandy notebook.
There we go.
Yeah. General.
As close as you can get to a flame is
Right here. Interesting. Yeah, palindrome back. We already talked about that. Okay. Yeah, otherwise I don't feel like I have a whole hell of a lot else to say. Could just be a placeholder. Remember, they're in some kind of a test environment. It could just be a placeholder for all we know. Unless they've hovered over it, don't put too much investment into it. But 2040 Lite, again, dev environment. I have no reason to believe we're going from 2010 to 2040. Happens every single dev live stream. I'm guessing we're just going to 2020. Don't look into the 2040 too much. I think that's all I really have to say on the reveal. I am anticipating it to be more Destiny, just at least more Destiny in a place that I actually want to be in, with characters that I actually want to interact with. But until I actually start playing and they can prove that it's not going to be just more Destiny, that's all I really feel like I can kind of give right now. And then even if it is more Destiny, knowing what episode 1 and episode 2 were like, I wasn't really anticipating episode 3 to crazily shift in terms of the gameplay experience. I'm thinking they're saving a lot more of that for Frontiers, all that kind of stuff. So we will see. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. Looks neat. Excited to go back to the Dreadnought. Cool. Play around. See how this roguelike stuff is. See how the expert difficulty is. And then we'll take it from there. And we'll see how the dungeon is. You know, Vesper's Host, I think, is fantastic. So hopefully this next dungeon is also pretty good, even though it's not technically a part of the episode. But yeah, I think that's all I got.